A153. I'm your classmate Mike, and for my interpretation, I'm going to be giving you a tour of where I work, which is a wastewater treatment plant. And that might not be the most typical kind of format for this project, but it is a very important part for the environment for us to properly treat wastewater. So I'm going to show you guys what I do. All right, so state of California, in order to operate a publicly owned water or wastewater treatment facility, you have to be licensed in the state. That's my license right there. All right, guys, I'm trying really hard to not put my sunglasses on. It's really bright out. But starting from the beginning of the plant, this is where we do all of our influent sampling. So from the collection system, aka the sewer, everything is pumped into a giant pipe under the plant. And here you'll be able to see we have an access pit, and we have a few samplers here. Part of our NPDES permit is we have to sample what's coming into the plant to give us a base point compared to what's going out. NPDES is National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, and it's what governs wastewater treatment. Alright guys, it might be hard to see, but behind me you'll see our motorized bar screens. So from inside that pipe, all the wastewater is going to flow through these channels and over two different bar screens. And what that's going to do is it's going to catch all the rags. I'm lucky here we have motorized ones that clean themselves. So when a certain differential pressure is reached across one side of the bar screen to the other, these rakes will activate, pull all of the rags off, drop it into this conveyor where they'll be compacted and dumped into a dumpster. Removing rags from the wastewater is important because rags will bunch up, they'll clog pipes and destroy pumps, motors, what have you, so removing those rags is a pretty crucial point. So past the bar screens, the water will flow into this giant sump right here, and down that sump we have six different lift pumps, and they'll lift it into that structure that you'll see behind me, which is our great aeration chamber. So I don't know if you can read this, but aerated grit basin. And basically grit is anything that can make it past the bar screens. Usually it's rocks, eggshells, that kind of thing. And we want to remove that in order to protect all the pumps, all the process upstream. That kind of stuff would be like sandblasting the equipment, so we have to get rid of it as soon as we can. And that's what we do right here at the aerated grit basin. All right guys, so I'm on top of the aerated grit basin. And basically what's happening here, all of the influent is being pumped through these air channels right here. And we are blasting pressurized air into it. Pressurized air allows all the grit to settle out. It basically just makes it sink to the bottom. All right, here you can see the air blowers I was talking about. We have two, we run one at a time just so we have a redundant system in case one fails. So here I am at the bottom of the grit basin. See, it's kind of a tall structure, so after all the air causes the grit to, in theory, fall out, there's a V-notch at the bottom of this area right here. And basically, that pump you're looking at right there, it will periodically turn on, and it's just going to suck all that grit out and pump it up to the grit classifier upstairs. Here you can see that pipe. That's where the grit is pumped up into, and is pumped into this grit classifier. You may be able to see behind me, but we call this guy an auger. And basically what it is all the grit and some water too is going to be pumped into this guy. It's all going to sink to the bottom. This auger is going to catch the grit and move it and pump it down into that pipe where we're going to bag it and send it to the landfill. In case anybody's wondering. So that's it going in. It's got a baffle right behind it to make sure we don't quote unquote short circuit and send any grit back into the process. And after making it through the grit aeration basin, the plant influent is going to flow by gravity from here to our primary clarifiers. Alright guys, here I am on top of one of our 2 primary clarifiers. And primary clarifiers uses a simple science. It flows from the middle and moves to a larger surface area on the outside. The process of doing that slows it down. And basically by slowing it down, it allows the heavier sludges to settle to the bottom of this tank and all the scums to rise to the top. You can see that arm over there. There's one on the top grabbing the scum, one on the bottom pumping it to our digestion process. Alright guys, behind me you'll see one of our 2 anaerobic digesters, and that's where our scum, our primary scum and sludge is pumped to, along with our secondary scum and sludge. And we'll come back to this in a minute. It's tough to see, but those are the primary clarifiers over there. So the primary treated sewage flows over the weirs on the outside by gravity and flows over here to our biological process. Alright guys, I'm on top of the biological process. You can see we have 3 trains. So the process flows down one of these 3 trains. You can see that's 1, 2, and 3 over there on the back. In each of these trains we have 4 quote-unquote cells. Each cell we're injecting liquid oxygen, or LOX, out of either this tank or purified oxygen from one of these PSA pumps that we create on site when there's any kind of liquid oxygen supply shortage. Alright, so here's what's going on inside these cells. So the process comes in, liquid oxygen is injected into the process, and it flows through these baffles in the pattern kind of like that. Basically slows it down. Each of these 4 mixers is mixing at a different speed, and that's to make sure that we don't get anything that will get stopped up. And it makes sure that the liquid oxygen is getting to the appropriate bugs to clean the wastewater. You can see this is the end of the cells right there. So we call secondary effluent, flows through the 3 cells into one common pipe, where it comes out over here at the splitter box. So this splitter box allows us to sample what's coming off our biological process. It also allows us to isolate the flow to one of 3 different secondary clarifiers. Just like with a primary clarifier, we're using the same principle here. The secondary effluent, the secondary influent flows from the center and is slowed down as it flows to the outside, and this allows what's now living bacteria to settle at the bottom of this clarifier. The bugs from the bottom of the secondary clarifiers are pumped by these pumps back to the beginning of the biological process. These big pumps return sludge back to the biological process, and these smaller ones are going to waste the sludge out of the system. The sludge being wasted out of the system is pumped up into this hopper right here. A polymer solution is added to it, and it's pumped through this rotary drum thickener. The sludge is dewatered as it goes over these perforated cones, dropped into the sump right here, and from this sump, it's going to be pumped to the digester. The thickened secondary waste sludge is mixed with the primary sludge and primary scum through these 2 pipes and pumped up into one of our 2 digesters. The digesters are heated and mixed with these giant pumps. And our permit has a certain amount of time that the sludge has to take where it's going to be, it's going to have volatile solids destroyed. And it's a minimum of, I want to say, 17 days to meet our permit, but we don't come anywhere close to that. We're way above it. The fully digested sludge flows out of this pipe and flows back to our dewatering building for pressing. Methane gas is a byproduct of treating wastewater, and it's collected from the top of these digesters through these pipes, where it's going to be compressed and pumped down into boilers that we're going to use to heat the sludge and help lessen the cost of our process. Here you can see our two different boilers. It's used to heat the sludge, and that makes sure that the bacteria growing in the sludge is at an optimum temperature to treat the sludge. We run one on methane gas since we produce it as a byproduct anyway, and the other one is going to be natural gas because it's a lot more efficient of an energy source. We produce a lot more methane gas than we could ever possibly utilize, so all the excess gas is pumped here to our flare and burnt off. Methane gas is one of the most harmful greenhouse gases there are, so burning it converts it to a form that's less harmful to the environment. Digested sludge is pumped up into these screw presses where it's farther dewatered using a polymer solution to enhance the dewatering. The dried sludge falls off the end of the screw press, runs along this conveyor, is pumped and dumped into one of these trailers to be hauled to the landfill, and that concludes the solids handling process. Back to the liquid process. From the secondary clarifiers, sludge settles out and the clear water flows out of the secondary clarifiers into our contact basin. On the way to the contact basin, the secondary effluent is mixed with chlorine that's going to kill any pathogens left in the water stream. Here you can see our contact channels where the secondary effluent is going to flow through. After being injected with chlorine, it's required to meet a certain detention time where it's in contact with the chlorine. The minimum is 2 hours. We don't come anywhere near that. We're way above that, so we're good. Have you ever noticed purple pipes? Do you know what they mean? Here at the end of the contact channel, we have our reclaimed water pumps. Reclaimed water is used to water grass. Reclaimed water can safely be used to grow crops, water grass, and all sorts of use. Pretty much anything except being used as drinking water. Right here, you might be able to see we're injecting sodium bisulfite to dechlorinate the water before we discharge it. Here at the end of the dechlor channel, the disinfected and dechlorinated water is pumped up and out to the river.